Good morning. Happy Thursday morning. I am going to be reading from my blog on Psalm 5 verses 4 through 12. This blog is entitled Whitewashed Cup, and the synopsis for this blog is there's room at the table of grace for all of us. It's where we find the one who wants to be our refuge and our source of joy. Psalm 5 verses 4 through 12 say, "For you are not a God who is pleased with wickedness. With you, evil people are not welcome. The arrogant cannot stand in your presence. You hate all who do wrong. You destroy those who tell lies. The bloodthirsty and deceitful you, Lord, detest. But I, by your great love, can come into your house. In reverence, I bow down towards your holy temple. Lead me, Lord, in your righteousness. Because of my enemies, make your way straight before me. Not a word from their mouth can be trusted. Their heart is filled with malice. Their throat is an open grave. With their tongues they tell lies. Declare them guilty, O God. Let their intrigues be their downfall. Banish them for their many sins, for they have rebelled against you. But let all who take refuge in you be glad. Let them ever sing for joy. Spread your protection over them, that those who love your name may rejoice in you. Surely, Lord, you bless the righteous. You surround them with your favor as with a shield." Every time I have read over these verses recently, I have felt troubled and a bit conflicted. To be honest, I actually cringed inside while reading this psalm. Not because I disagree with any of it, but because to me it feels that these verses could be interpreted as harsh and uncaring. I believe that God hates sin, and I know he isn't pleased with wickedness. I believe that no one can stand in his righteous and holy presence without having accepted Jesus' free gift of redemption. And even then, we'd be arrogant and prideful to approach God with anything but humility. However, when these types of verses are used to motivate good behavior or become the measuring stick for who's good enough, it comes across as a way to keep people out. When we presume to know who would and wouldn't be welcome at the table of grace, we start walking a fine line of hypocrisy and self-righteousness, and we run the risk of having a squeaky clean cup on the outside with a whole lot of filth on the inside. However, there was more that God wanted to show me in this psalm, so I pressed on. Verses 4 through 7 came across to me that David was doing a very good job painting his enemies as horrible, detestable, wretched sinners in verses 4 through 6, while portraying himself as innocent in verse 7, which says, "For you are not a God who is pleased with wickedness. With you, evil people are not welcome. The arrogant cannot stand in your presence. You hate all who do wrong. You destroy those who tell lies. The bloodthirsty and deceitful you, Lord, detest. But I, by your great love, can come into your house. In reverence, I bow down towards your holy temple." I could be way off base and only interpreting this based on my own experience, but I'm 100% sure I do this in my own life on a regular basis. I'm constantly struggling with frustrations, irritations, wounds, hurt feelings, anger, resentment, and grudges that color the way I see other people who have disappointed me, hurt me, turned against me, etc. I am quick to focus on their every flaw and shortcoming, and trying my best to make sure God hasn't forgotten them either. All the while, I'm completely ignoring what could be at work in my own life that needs attention. Reading verse 8 had me feeling like I was finally at the place I needed to be in order to get my focus in line. Verse 8 says, "Lead me, Lord, in your righteousness. Because of my enemies, make your way straight before me." Being led by God's righteousness when my enemy or situation is causing me strife is the only way to straighten the path before me. Trying to follow my own righteousness, which doesn't even exist, will always leave me wandering aimlessly. Verses 9 through 10 reminded me a little of someone tattling to God and exaggerating the truth just a bit to make their case for punishment. Verses 9 and 10 say, "Not a word from their mouth can be trusted. Their heart is filled with malice. Their throat is an open grave. With their tongues they tell lies. Declare them guilty, O God. Let their intrigues be their downfall. Banish them for their many sins, for they have rebelled against you. I'm grateful God doesn't always give us what we ask for. If he treated us the way we wanted our enemies treated, we'd have a problem on our hands. Let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone, right? Verses 11 and 12 for me were reminders of who God is and what he promises to do on my behalf. Verses 11 and 12 say, "But let all who take refuge in you be glad. Let them ever sing for joy. Spread your protection over them, that those who love your name may rejoice in you. Surely, Lord, you bless the righteous. You surround them with your favor as with a shield." God is our refuge, and he is our protection. In him we find all gladness and joy. It's not lost on me that this psalm started with David crying out in lament, verses 1 through 3, which I shared in yesterday's video, but it ends with David reminding himself where his help comes from. His focus shifts from his enemies to his God, and there he finds joy, looking down to looking up. May it be the same with me today. And may it be the same for you today. So that is the end of Psalm 5. I think tomorrow I will be reading a blog that I had written last year or maybe the year before on Good Friday. So I thought tomorrow would be a good day to share that. But this blog today has, it has given me, I think I've probably said this every day, but in looking for ways to go deeper in my relationship with God, as I'm reading these blogs, I'm thinking about, where in my life can I apply this today? Even though I wrote this, a year and a half or 2 years ago, there's always something new to be learned and, or maybe relearned in a lot of situations for me. But, just being able to shift our focus from everything that's going wrong, everything that's frustrating us, everything that's irritating us, to what God is doing and who he is and what we can be grateful for, and finding ways to, like I shared in yesterday's video, to be intentional and to fight for joy. I think that's really important right now with everything that's going on in our lives. And so I hope that there was something encouraging or helpful to you. And like I say in every video, if you are struggling, please reach out. I would like to be able to pray for you or encourage you in any way that I can. And if you are struggling, you definitely don't have to go through anything that you're facing or dealing with. You don't have to go through it alone. So, with that, I will leave you guys, and hopefully everyone has a good Thursday, and I will be back tomorrow with some thoughts about Good Friday. I will talk to you guys then. Bye-bye.